Should the Tories get rid of Rishi Sunak before the election? And this is as the right wing of the Conservative Party are plotting to replace him. The Five Flies, or the Five Families, or the Five Eyes, whatever they call themselves now. They want to replace Rishi Sunak with Penny Mordaunt. They think that she'd appeal much more to swing voters and reclaim some of the ground lost to Sir Keir Starmer and, of course, the Labour Party. So for the Great British Debate this hour, I'm asking, should the Tories get rid of Rishi Sunak before the election? Before I do that, though, here are some emails from the monologue. I'll probably get in trouble because people are... Oh, here we go. I can understand... This is Shelley on Kate. She said, I can understand all you say about Catherine, but she isn't wearing her rings, and this is causing controversy. It's true, but maybe she airbrushed them out in the photoshopping thing. She might not have noticed. Margaret on Rishi, well, that's another one who'll be a rubbish leader because the MPs did such a good job not electing Rishi Sunak and ignoring Tory membership. They're going to do it again. The members want Suella or Boris, not someone who doesn't know what a woman is. Very true. And Pat on the Royal, she says, Catherine, who does everything right, gets into trouble for a photo. It's so sad. She should be left alone to get on with her family. She's a human being like us. I wish her well. Same here, here. And Dave on the Royal said, the Princess of Wales is loved by all those who value this country, its values and way of life. Absolutely. And you know what? They love her in America as well, which is really, really good. Right, so let's see. What do you think, then, with regard to the election? So joining me now is Reform Party's Simon Danczuk, former Labour MP Stephen Pound, and political commentators Peter Spencer and Benedict Spence. The two S's, be warned, they're here. Right, so what do you think? I'm going to start with you. Benedict Spence, do you think that perhaps the Tories are right to look to replace their leader?
I thought for a very long time it would have been a mistake to replace Rishi Sunak, but I think that it's kind of got to a stage in the last couple of months where one has to sort of weigh up which is the greater damage, risk getting rid of him now or keeping him. I think the major obstacle for the last couple of months was always, well, who else would you get? Who else is actually a better option? Now I think that he's actually plumbed sufficient depths that it almost doesn't matter if there aren't sort of any immediately better candidates on the basis that simply Rishi Sunak himself, I think, is just projecting an image of incompetence. I think everything that he and his team put out there, along with Jeremy Hunt, whether it's a part of the budget or it's a sort of a social policy or an immigration policy, nothing is received particularly positively. People don't trust. I think people don't trust the Tory party generally, but they certainly don't trust him to actually follow through with any of his pledges. So then the question does have to be, are you actually risking that much damage getting rid of him at this late stage? Whereas actually, what you need, even if you're not anticipating getting in a much better leader than him, what you need is a team going into number 10 that is ready to fight an election. I don't think Rishi Sunak and his team currently are.
Interesting. But incompetence, I think a lot of them all are. Simon Danczuk, what are your thoughts?
Oh, the anti-Conservative feeling in the country is substantial, to say the least. It doesn't matter who's leading the Conservatives into this general election. They are going to be treated very badly by the electorate. People want rid of them. I mean, there's no doubt about that. They see this government as having failed on immigration, on the economy, on defence, on Walker. It's just utter failure. I mean, it doesn't matter whether they replace Sunak or not. That's the truth of the matter.
Do you think? Peter Spencer?
The idea of replacing Rishi Sunak at this stage, foisting upon the electorate yet another Tory leader, I mean, I have to say, as they tend to say within the sounds of Bow Bells, you having a laugh, me old China. I mean, look, I can perfectly well see why they would like a different leader, because Rishi Sunak, to my mind, played an extremely good hand when he was the Chancellor with the furlough scheme, Dishy Rishi and all that. But it's a different skill set when you are the Prime Minister. For that, you need political savvy, and that much has manifestly been lacking. I mean, the two prime examples are Frank Hester and the Lee Anderson, I do beg your pardon. In
what did you call him?
Well, sorry, it's private eye. They call him Leandertal for some kind of reason. Anyway, letting that pass, yeah, I'm sure they would love to have a new leader, but I'm reminded when even thinking about it at this stage of those folk and that orchestra playing on the deck of the Titanic. Maybe if you have a jolly sing-song, the ship won't sink, but maybe there are fairies on the end of the garden. I don't think so.
Stephen Pound.
Yeah. Hi, Nada. Look, politically, I've got no skin in the game. But as someone who actually cares about this country, the answer has to be no, because what would it do to our international reputation, and above all, our international competence and our international stability? The money markets would actually flee from us, rushing even faster than people onto the lifeboats of the Titanic. If we had yet another period of infighting, of ferrets in the sack, it would be the worst possible message we can send to the money markets. The more interesting question is, where are the Conservatives going and what are the Conservatives for? Come what may, there's going to be a major change, whether it's after the election. I hope it won't be before the election for the sake of the country. But the Conservatives have to decide, are they ever going to be Conservative again? Or have they ceded that ground to, dare I say it, Simon Chanchuk and a few of his friends? Because it looks to me as an outsider here, and someone, as I said, who doesn't have skin in the game, as if the Conservatives, the traditional Conservatives, have given up and gone home, and they've left the playing field to another team.
Well, I think you make a good point as well about the embarrassment on the world stage. I mean, people must be watching and go, oh, not again, putting their hands and their head in their hands and thinking, what the hell has happened to the United Kingdom? But Simon, he mentioned you, and I actually think that the Conservatives will end up being the third political party.
Well, yeah, the Reform Party are currently in third position, which is quite incredible. We're on 12, 13, 14% in the opinion polls, doing very well. The Conservatives are down to 18%. It's quite feasible that we overtake them at some stage, and we've only been around for 3 or 4 years as a political party. So we are making... people want change. That's the reality of it. They want people in government who are going to challenge on these big issues, and that's not what the Conservatives have done. As I said earlier, it's been one failure after another, and the fact that Lee Anderson has come over to Reform is significant. We've now got our first Reform MP. It looks like he could well win Ashfield at the general election. That's what some of the polling's suggesting. Is exceptionally popular. People are joining the party in droves. So it's looking pretty good for Reform. We could become the second party at this rate.
Benedict Spence, you were saying that they might as well change leader. You've been umming and ahhing about it. But I think Stephen Pound makes a good point that it's the embarrassment as well on the world stage. And what policies and politics will be getting on with whilst they're doing this? Because in the meantime, the NHS and all the things that we, the public, are dealing with, this is not going to be relevant to them.
I mean, when we're talking about the world stage, A, none of those people actually vote for who the Prime Minister is, and B, it's not as if we've been doing a particularly good job of reassuring our allies on the world stage that we're a particularly well-functioning country as things currently stand. You know, we're on the brink potentially of another war, a further escalation of the war in Europe, and we're one of the only countries in Europe cutting funding for our armed forces. What does the international community make of that? And that's the government that we've currently got. I mean, look, I understand with the arguments that people are saying you don't want to sort of spook the horses, you know, it would be electoral suicide to have another change right now. But things have got that bad that actually, if you keep Rishi Sunak, you are basically accepting that you're going to lose very badly if you keep Rishi Sunak. Because it's not just about Sunak himself, it's about the team that he puts around him. I'd argue almost that's as important. It's about the messaging. Rishi Sunak, you know, as was pointed out, he played a pretty good job when he was Chancellor. He was able to do it, but he was not able to perhaps transfer from the one job to the other particularly well. So I think that's as much an important thing. I wouldn't say that there's any point in changing from Rishi Sunak to Penny Mordaunt. I would say that that's still the major barrier to changing leader, is saying, well, who else is actually better? But that's not to say that it would be necessarily a bad thing. It's about finding somebody who would sort of grab the imagination of the voters, perhaps tempt people from going over to Reform. But as we saw actually at a number of the previous by-elections, it's not so much about people going to Reform. It's about Tory voters just not turning out to vote at all. You just need to motivate them to come out and vote in the first place.
Well, I think it's more about people who's going to grab the helm of the ship as it goes over the cliff. They're just deciding who's going to lead this thing to the floor. Stephen Pound.
Yeah, I have to say, in my naval days, very seldom did a ship go over the cliff. But, you know,
well, this one is. This one literally
is. What killed Liz Truss and what damn nearly killed the British economy was the international credit agencies. It was Standard & Poor's, it was Moody's, it was people like that. They had a look at us and they said, you are no longer a safe financial bet. We're no longer going to invest in British gilts. We're no longer going to invest in the pound sterling as a reserve currency. That is the real problem. I mean, Benedict's right. That he's always right. He knows that. But when he says that, the people around the world don't have votes, well, to be honest, a lot of them do actually. But the reality is it's the credit agencies who do. And it would be the worst possible message. The United Kingdom would not be open for business, would not be capable, would not be stable and financially sound if we had yet another round. And would we just have one? Would we then go on? Would Penny Mordaunt then be attacked? Heaven knows. Look, let's get through to the election. Let's find out what happens. Let's let the cards fall where they may, and then let the Conservatives have a long, quiet, calm period of re-evaluation. They need to decide once and for all, what are they for? Because, believe you me, the message is not coming out, getting across at the moment.
Peter Spencer.
I mean, it's quite interesting picking up on the Penny Mordaunt thing, because the leader of the Commons as she is, she's regarded as a moderate, and the current punt, I choose my word carefully here, is that she is, pardon me, gentlemen, excuse you. Anyway, letting that pass, I mean, she is apparently being mooted by those on the right of the party, which does seem to add up to something like something to draw the party back into a one-party rather than the two-party status that it currently seems to occupy. But I have to say again about changing leader at this stage, it would be all very well in this parallel universe, but as things are, quite frankly, it's la la.
And obviously there was no offence within those words at all. Simon Danchuk, final to you.
Well, yeah, I'm puzzled that they're coalescing around Penny Mordaunt. I just don't understand that. She's not particularly high profile. The public don't really know who she is. She hasn't really held high office. So
she held the sword, though, didn't she?
She did indeed. Exactly. That's what people remember her by, and that's about it, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
Well, Machiavelli held the dagger.
Was it a dagger? It was a dagger, not a sword. Well, so finally then... So finally, then, let's ask you that question then. So should the Tory party change their leader before the general election? Simon Danchuk?
No.
No. Peter Spencer?
Bye-bye, Rishi. Bye-bye, Tories.
So, yes or no?
Oh, I think that means no, doesn't it?
That means no. Benedict Spence?
Not to Penny Mordaunt, but beyond that, why not?
And Stephen Pound?
No.
No, they shouldn't. Well, listen, thank you so much for your thoughts. That was the former Labour MP Stephen Pound, Simon Danchuk from the Reform Party, Peter Spencer, political commentator, and Benedict Spence, a political commentator. Thank you for your thoughts. What do you think? Should they? Is it worth it? Will it make any difference? I don't know.